Greetings and salutations, YouTube. Today I'll be showing you how I build my farming setup in Sky Factory 3. As you can see, it's pretty darn fast and pretty darn efficient. So let's get started. First off, I build each platform as a 6x6 area. I'm using fertilized dirt, although you can use normal dirt if you're just starting out. And then to harvest, I am using mechanical users from Extra Utilities 2. So to build a mechanical user involves a dropper, a lever, and a resonating redstone crystal, which will take 4 redstone and an ender pearl and 3 iron to get started. After that, I'll build up a couple pillars so I can place them facing down. And 4. And get rid of these placeholders and fill in the rest of the dirt. Leaving 1 block out. For tutorial purposes, I'll just use normal water. And then I need a hoe. As a water source block, you can either just use a normal block of water, or once you have growth crystals version 2 and 3 both act as a water source block. And what I'm using in my farm currently, although I could just use more crystals, but typically I only make about 12 of those and I have a specific placement for them, is I will use hydrogel, which uses slime, water, and some iron bars to make a solid water source block so it doesn't ooze water all over the place when I start building up multiple layers. The example, I'm only going to be building 2 layers instead of the 4 that I will build in my main world, but it will definitely give you the idea of what I'm doing. Okay, so that's the basic layout of each floor. Now for how I harvest. First off, I have a Tinker's set up here, where I will make a tough binding pattern, a tough tool rod, and a scythe head pattern. And I'll build one of those. The tough binding and the scythe head do need to be paper. The tough tool rod, I'll typically just use sticks rather than waste all my paper when it's not needed. But those 2 pieces you definitely need to have as paper, and I'll explain why in a second. When you pop these in the tool forge, you'll get a tool with writable 2. If you don't have both of these as paper, you'll only get writable 1, and you will not have 5 upgrade spots. Now to upgrade it, I will use 4 obsidian and a blank cast. Blank casts you get from Tinker's smelter, pouring into a blank casting table. And these will give you reinforcements, which I'll cheat and get a stack of here. Then you pop this in here and your stack of upgrades, and you need to give it 5 upgrades, which will... This first gives it reinforcement, and if you keep going until 5, you get unbreakable. Take your unbreakable paper scythe, which I'll duplicate for the sake of speeding things up, and pop it into your machine here. Save one of those for the second floor. At this point, it is fully ready to go if you're just starting out and don't want to get too creative. Let's steal some Draconian Seeds here and get that planted. Now to speed up the garden, because this will grow on its own merry time. However, there are plenty of ways to speed it up. The most efficient method is growth crystals. Even the Tier 1 growth crystal is still a lot more powerful than a growth accelerator. For this demo, I'm going to simply cheat in some Tier 3s, which typically need dragon eggs and Tier 2s to make. And for placement, I will place it in these middle blocks to fill this in. And the reason why I do a 6x6 block is these things affect 4 blocks away on a horizontal plane, and then depending on the tier, depends on how far up and down they affect. The Tier 1s will only affect 2 levels, Tier 2s will affect 3, and Tier 3s will affect 4, thus my giant tower. But as you can see, they've already sped up the growth, and now is when we start working on building the second platform. Which is once again a 6x6. And once again, we'll go in 2 blocks in each direction and add another water bucket. And pillar up a little bit so we can place not very well thought out. Go. Our mechanical droppers. As these act as water source blocks, it does affect the flow of the water a bit, which makes it look a little weird. And then fill in the rest of the dirt. And break our placing blocks. And once again, give everything a good hoedown. I typically use obsidian hoes because they have a very high durability. And once again with the seeds. And there's the second floor, which is already growing quite nicely. Now, one thing that I will typically build is a big wall to prevent the drops from flying out. And once I have that built, I'll show you how I collect the drops. as you can see, this thing's going nuts and spewing draconium essence everywhere. Let's grab a wand. Okay. And that'll about hold everything in. Now to collect everything, I will use Absorption Hoppers. With radius upgrades. It can accept up to 6 upgrades, which will make it be able to absorb a 9 cubic radius. And any sort of chest will do, or an ender chest so you can get it somewhere else on your base. But you simply pop this down, pop your chest next to it. That's facing west. And it's pumping the draconium in there. Give it some upgrades. And get this top floor with more of these guys. And as you can see, this thing absorbs all of the essence, pumps it into the chest, and you're good to go. The finished version, I also added a Crafter Tier 3 from RF Tools, which takes the Draconium Essence and turns it into ingots, which does need power, which I'm in creative mode, so I'm using a creative energy source. Here I used Ender IO conduits to take things from the hopper into the crafter, and then from the crafter into the chest. And as you can see, this thing's filling up quite nicely. That about sums up how to make this simple farm. Hopefully you found this useful. Have a good one.